Alright guys, Tetrabit here today, and we have pretty big news. Faccento, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago, retiring from professional Call of Duty, has joined eUnited as their new head coach. And when I first saw this, I was like, okay, does this mean that Saintt is out of a job? And indeed it does. BrianSaintt, who's been their coach since I believe early last year, so, you know, over a year now. I think maybe it was something like March last year he joined them as a coach, I was reading. So yeah, Saintt's been around a while. He's now out the door for Faccento. So we're going to talk about this change today, in addition to the CWL Pro League recap for the last couple of days, which will come in the latter half of this video if you guys are interested. So like if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, and let's go through the welcome post from eUnited on their website here, on their blog I guess you could say. So let's read through this. Looking ahead to the second half of the Call of Duty World League and the rest of the professional season, eUnited has made a team management change in hopes of returning to the distinction of being a top rated squad. Some of the wording in here is interesting. I'll let you guys decide on that for yourselves. Joining eUnited is Faccento. Faccento, a former CWL Open champion and a highly regarded Call of Duty professional. Highly regarded. After spending time with teams such as Rise Nation, Echo Fox, G2 and Evil Geniuses over the course of his career, Faccento made the decision earlier this year to step down from competing. On Faccento's decorated resume, you'll find that in addition to his CWL Open championship, he placed 2nd, 3rd and 4th in recent Call of Duty championships. Could just be Call of Duty World Championships, make it a bit clearer, but that is very true. When asked for a few words on signing with eUnited, Faccento had this to say, and this is quite telling, I think. First off, I want to thank eUnited for this opportunity. I'm very excited to be part of this organisation and team. As a player, my best quality was the ability to create chemistry within a team with the goal of winning at all cost. I cannot wait to get to work with this team and help in any way possible to achieve the goal of a championship. The most exciting attribute of this team is the amount of potential I see. Clay's been doing this for a long time. We've always talked about teaming up throughout our years of competing against each other. I don't think I've beaten the twins ever. That's Arstees and Pristini. Then there is the explosive young guns in Abisi and Sypien, who I'm the most excited to get to know. I'm thrilled to start with these men and finish out the Call of Duty World League 2019 season with a bang, he says. Now, I think this is quite interesting, especially this last paragraph, because he kind of implies that he doesn't really know and get along with these players. And that's kind of the impression I get here, because Clayster, of course, you know, he sees a lot of talent on the team. Clayster has been asking, potentially teaming with for years, doesn't really go into much detail on the twins, and then he says he's interested to get to know Abisi and Sim. So it's not like he's been talking to these guys for a while with this potential on the table. It seems very much like, and we will ratify this a little bit further in a second, that this is an organisation decision that eUnited as an org have decided, okay, well, we think Faccento is going to be a better coach than what BrianSaintt brings to the team for whatever reason, and then they are the ones that have decided to get him in. It doesn't seem like the players have necessarily said, yeah, we want Faccento for XYZ reason, because it doesn't seem like they really even know him too well on the evidence of this. So, of course, we have the general manager, Burns, says this about his experience with Faccento. I've known Bryce for many years, teamed with him in Advanced Warfare for a couple of events. He has extreme talent with his shot calls and making any team he's competing with top contenders to win a championship. Bryce has a selfless approach to the game, and I'm hoping he can be a fresh voice to the team during their next month of practice before CWL London. So yeah, pretty interesting. It does kind of imply that maybe Burns is a pretty key figure here in deciding that Faccento is going to be the one to come onto this team in that coaching role. And then leaving the United family is BrianSaintt. Brian joined eUnited in March of last year. That's where I read it, and helped lead the eUnited Call of Duty roster to a 4th place finish at last year's Call of Duty World Championship. I want to personally thank BrianSaintt for all his hard work over the last 2 competitive seasons. His analyst work and leadership helped turn around a sinking ship and got us back on track during the World War II season. I'm confident Brian will be valuable to any organisation in the CWL, and from anyone at eUnited, we wish him the absolute best in his future endeavours, or from everyone at eUnited. I find this always interesting when you praise the player or the coach who's leaving your team beyond belief, but you have still kicked them, so there has to be some reason there. I guess in this case it's just you think Faccento is going to be an upgrade in terms of coaching. Of course, there has been rumours that we'll go on to in a second based on what Enable says. Actually, I guess we can have a look at it right now. He says the CoD burner didn't know that eUnited were trying to make a coaching change for about a month. Interesting. So yeah, since the CoD burner has been around, there's always been this speculation that maybe BrianSaintt is the man behind it. And well, you know, it's rather interesting. If Enable knows that eUnited were thinking of making this coaching change, or at least discussing it behind the scenes for about a month, and BrianSaintt, or that, the CoD burner didn't know, and he seems to have a lot of information associated with eUnited. Maybe that does give slightly more credence to the claim that BrianSaintt could be the CoD burner, and maybe even the guys in eUnited, realised it, and they've kicked him off the squad as a result. I don't know, don't really want to spread any speculation, but that's what some people are saying, so I thought I'd put it out there because it's kind of an interesting idea. I do feel bad for Saintt in this scenario. Of course, these are his tweets that he puts out yesterday. He tweeted this several hours before it actually was confirmed, and then he goes on to, this one, really don't have anything to say, just found out this was in talks for over a month with no knowledge of the situation. Interesting, and it's tough. Then again, does a company really have any incentive to tell the current coach that they're going to potentially be kicked off the team? I don't really think that's how it works. Like, they can have behind the scenes discussions with Faccento as much as they want, as long as they haven't decided a month ago that Saintt is going to leave and then they kick him out now, then there's something to be said for that. But at the current state of things, it kind of seems like they've just had discussions for several weeks, they've finally come to a decision, and now Saintt's been given the boot, as it were. And it's tough. Clayster did give him a nice tweet here though, and also I think donated $500 or something onto his stream. So that was definitely appreciated by Saintt for sure. So placement since Saintt joined eUnited: 1 time second, 1 time third, 2 times fourth, 2 times fifth, sixth. So qualified for champs in every league. And any org is losing out on a valuable asset if they don't jump on this. So I always find these sentences intriguing, but is your org not losing out on a valuable asset? Is that Clayster's personal opinion here? Because maybe he hasn't got the chance to even have a decision in this case, but is that his personal opinion that every org is losing out on this valuable asset? Kenny got one back on Clayster here, because I don't know if you remember when Pharaoh got kicked from the 100 Thieves squad. Clayster said something along the lines of, when you kick when you kick a player because you don't want to change roles or something like that, regarding Kenny not wanting to use an SMG, and now he replies with, when you can't improve as a player, so you replace your coach. So thought that was pretty funny. And then we have some replies that Clayster was making here on the Reddit. So effectively Clayster says, honestly, we knew nothing of this happening until late last night. There were some talks previously when everything first went down, but I think we had all thought that had blown over. And org does and will continue to do what every org will do once franchising comes: the control of the team to make decisions to win. Effectively what that means. I probably read it a little bit wrong. The orgs pay salary, they can legit do whatever they want since it's technically their money. Some of you all are naive and thinking player control should be a priority. So effectively implying that in this situation it was Faccento, or it was the management that decided to get Faccento in the squad. He says, I totally get player control and how CoD has been in the past, but I don't necessarily think players making all the decisions is the right thing. And then he goes on to, honest question, Hex preaches player control as a priority and Optic is the biggest org in CoD. So would you say the same philosophy would be ideal in other organizations? Is it kind of a one-of-a-kind situation in Optic that wouldn't work with others? And Clayster just says Hex doesn't control that regardless now. So pretty interesting. Definitely an interesting scenario. Leave all your thoughts on this in the comment section below, as I'm sure you will, because Faccento comes into the team. Is this going to be an improvement? I don't know. It's a coach. After all, we haven't seen Faccento in a coaching role at all. I think he should on the surface be fantastic. Saintt never personally struck me as an unbelievably impressive coach. So, we'll see how it goes down the line. It does seem like this team has some turmoil within it though. And, I wouldn't be surprised if they make another roster change before the end of the season, put it that way. I guess this is the roster change they're going with, bringing in Faccento as coach. We'll have to see how it turns out. I have faith that maybe this should improve them on the surface, but I still don't think they're winning an event. Okay, so let's recap the Pro League for the last couple of days here. And I'm just going to try and breeze over the matches. A lot of matches because I couldn't cover them yesterday because I had a law presentation. It went very well, thanks for asking. So Genji versus Denial was game number 1. Breezy went off this entire series, but Genji closed it out in the last 3 maps. It was pretty comfortable, honestly, after they lost the first one. And I was like, damn, Denial after they, won game 1. It was kind of classic Genji, how they would lose the first map and win the next ones in the series. So, we'll see how that went for them on the match last night as well. Game 2 was Midnight versus Splice. Midnight looked decent in this series, to be honest. I was pretty impressed with Saints as well, because Saints has not been particularly good in a fair bit of time, I think. So he really decided to turn it around here. Looney had a very good series on the side of Splice here. And, the only one they lost was the control. Actually, this control was mental, wasn't it? I think Splice went up 2-0, looking like they were going to close out the series comfortably, and then Midnight brought the reverse sweep, but still ended up losing the hardpoint. Map number 1 was pretty crazy as well, but Splice managed to close it out on that Hacienda hardpoint. And yeah, Midnight actually lose this search and destroy 6-3 here, but we'll see how they performed last night against 100 Thieves in search. Very interesting indeed. Effectively how I thought this series would go. And then we have Series 3, Optic versus Enigma 6. This is not how I expected the series to go. Map number 1 went pretty much as expected. Optic managed to close it out. Then game 2 was comfortable for Enigma 6. Their search and destroy has been really looking solid as of late in their game 2s. Their game 2 searches are great. Their game 5 searches are not so good. Their controls are also really, really strong right now. We look at the control KD here that EasyMac has nicely put together. Of course, I'll leave all these links to this stuff in the description box below. The control KD was ridiculous from Chino and the like, and they absolutely mollywopped Optic. I don't think I've ever seen a quicker control, really. It was on frequency. They just romped through them on the attacking rounds, and yeah, Optic just didn't stand a chance there. And then just Dashi turned up to another gear. He had an absolutely unbelievable series of 1.65 KD. He had a 1.3 in this control, even though they got absolutely smoked. Like, look at the KDs from the rest of the guys in that control map they did end up playing. Dashi didn't have the best S&D KD, but a 2.1 over the hard points. He was very good map number 1. He was unbelievable map number 4. And then going into a game 5, Karma really turned it on in that final search and destroy, and ended up winning the series 3-2. But it was a very tight one, and yeah, not the Optic we exactly would expect to be seeing. Final series of the night was Reciprocity vs 100 Thieves. This series was incredibly close the first couple maps. It actually couldn't have been closer. 250-249. Reciprocity were on the verge of taking it in that map number 1 hardpoint. Tommy had a ridiculous game 1. Yeah, Shawnee struggled a fair bit. And Dylan didn't have the series. He hasn't had the couple of days that we expected him at this Fort Worth performance, but I'm sure he'll get back to the standard soon. Of course, he's making his debut effectively in the Pro League, so, you know, can't expect him to be dominant right out of the gates. And then after those first 2 map losses, 100 Thieves just ran away with the control. Again, a couple of those rounds were pretty damn close, but, you know, the way these first 2 maps went, it seemed like there was no recovery when you're so close and you just make a tiny couple of mistakes and you end up losing it. So those are the day 1 results. These are day 2. Denial vs Optic was series number 1, and this was just a ridiculous series. Optic are the sort of team where traditional Optic, playing at their top form, they quite often would go down in maps and then they would bring it back. Exactly what they were doing at Vegas. They would have some crazy comebacks. Here it was the opposite. Optic are up at least like 80-90 points at one point in the game. Denial bring it back very impressively and end up closing the map out on frequency hardpoint 250-243. That is not vintage Optic by any means. Optic do end up taking the search though 6-4. Then they get beaten in the control once again. So back-to-back days where they get beaten pretty handily in control, which is not a good sign. Then they win game 4 in a very similar fashion as to how they achieved this against the likes of Enigma 6 yesterday. And then the final search and destroy was amazing. Optic are up 5-1, but I felt like a lot of the early rounds in that map were very close indeed, could have gone either way. Then Denial bring it all the way back to around 11. Optic looked like they were throwing it away. And then Denial, I don't know what they were thinking at that round 11. Natche in particular, he had a good series overall, but he was up top, like the top B area. They got vision pulsed, and he was just hanging around waiting for a gunfight while he was vision pulsed. Didn't really understand that. And then there was a team kill with the War Machine. Just a disaster for Denial. They lose in the game 5 round 11, but Optic going to 2 game 5s in a row against Enigma 6 and Denial. Probably not what you want to see with 100 Thieves and Splice lurking in the wings in tomorrow's couple of matches. Another game 5 in this Reciprocity Enigma 6 game. I think like most people would have called a Reciprocity win in game 5 here, because like this was pretty ridiculous, but you always felt like it was going to go this way. So game 1, this is Reciprocity's pick on the hardpoint, the gridlock hardpoint. Enigma 6, as I say, really good in game 2 S&Ds. They win 6-3. Then they win a very good 3-2 on the control. Once again, they beat Optic yesterday. They beat Reciprocity today. Rec win map number 4 comfortably on Arsenal. And then they take the game 5, just like what they would do at the CWL Fort Worth event. They get their revenge on Enigma 6 that beat them 3-0 in the start of the bracket at CWL Fort Worth. So good from Reciprocity to bounce back here. Tommy has been an absolute monster over the last couple of days. I don't know what's got into him. 97 kills over the course of the series. This is the new K-Series stats from Easy Mac, and basically it expands the series. So if every single game went the distance, this is how many kills would have been achieved. So honestly shows that this game was pretty damn close to going the distance. And then we have a surprising result. I thought 100 Thieves would take this one without question, but Midnight pull it out the bag, and I didn't get the chance to watch the series because I was so knackered after yesterday. I just went to bed after the first couple. But yeah, Saints had a monster series at a 1.3 KD overall. A very close map number 1 win here for Midnight. Game 2 on that Arsenal was pretty comfortable in favour of Midnight, which is not what you expected. Both these search and destroyers Midnight were dominant at, and I guess that is one thing when you looked at this squad that you thought their search and destroy could be very solid, but then again you look at a 100 Thieves team, like these are search and destroy monsters, so it's definitely a surprise overall that this was able to be accomplished. 100 Thieves take the control comfortably, they win map number 4 comfortably as well, so 100 Thieves looking decent, but their search and destroy was pretty woeful. As I said, I didn't really get a chance to watch this series, so if you guys could keep me updated in the comment section below. Slasher had a pretty monstrous turn of events as well, but yeah, Enable with the 0.2 S&D KD, that's not pretty by any means, and 100 Thieves lose a series that was not expected. And yeah, well, a couple of interesting matches. Well, effectively, tomorrow's matches get way more interesting as a result of this. The final series, Genji versus Splice. This was a crazy one. Genji won map number 1. Game 2, I just rewatched it. Temp, it was a 4 versus 2 for Splice in the round number 9, I think. And Temp killed 2 of his teammates with the war machine that they were trying to flood through a door, I think, to get a trade on someone that had flown out into the room and died. They lost a 4 versus 2. To win the game, it would have been. And then they lose the last 2 rounds as well, so they go down 2-0. They somehow regain their composure to win a control, but then Genji closes out map number 4 hardpoint, which they are always very, very good at these map number 4 hardpoints. So Genji looking impressive. It is how I predicted it, and these are the games for tomorrow. I should say tonight, really. Enigma 6 Midnight, Denial Reciprocity, Genji 100 Thieves, Optic Splice. Incredibly hard to call these ones. I'm just going to leave my brain a little bit of rest and figure these out later. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always. Leave your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I will see you next time.